The observation chamber of the Galactic Council Station was the most beautiful place Commander Teo had ever seen. Massive windows showed the endless black of space dotted with bright stars. Different colored lights from alien ships moved slowly between the stations. The air was cool and smelled clean, like nothing on Earth. Teo stood with his hands behind his back, watching everything. He was tall for a human, with dark hair and a serious face. His military uniform was gray with blue stripes showing his rank. He had been assigned as security for Ambassador HFY 6 months ago. Most of the other species thought this was funny. Humans did not need military protection, they said. Humans were not important enough. Teo did not mind what they thought. He was good at his job. He watched everything and forgot nothing. The holographic broadcast screens began to glow brighter. Every screen on the station showed the same image. A Zethian face appeared. The Zethians were tall, with blue skin, and eyes that looked like burning fire. They were strong and very smart. They controlled many worlds and many ships. The Zethians spoke with a voice like thunder. "All species of the Galactic Council must hear our demand. You have 72 hours to give us everything you have claimed. All your worlds, all your ships, all your power. If you do not do this, we will destroy everything. We will make your cities empty. We will make your people disappear. This is not a question. This is not a choice. This is the only way you will stay alive." The broadcast ended. The screens went black. Teo felt cold. He had seen war before, on Earth, in the news and in history classes. But this was different. This was not countries fighting over a small area. This was species, and there were so many of them. This was the entire galaxy. The alarm sounds began to ring. Red lights flashed. Scientists and workers moved quickly through the station. Some looked afraid. Some looked angry. All of them moved fast. Teo moved quickly, too. He walked through the station without stopping. He did not run, but he did not walk slowly. He knew where he was going. He had studied the station maps for weeks when he first arrived. He knew every corridor, every exit, every safe place. The ambassador's office was on the highest level of the station. When Teo arrived, the office was empty except for HFY. She sat at her desk, looking at her computer screen. Her face was calm. This surprised Teo. Ambassador HFY was a small woman, smaller than most humans. She had black hair tied back tight, and her clothes were neat and clean. She had been the human ambassador to the Galactic Council for 5 years. She was very smart and very patient. Other species respected her, though they did not always like her. "Commander," she said, not looking away from her screen. "Good. I was going to call for you." "Ambassador," Teo said, "we should prepare the safe room. The situation is not good." HFY held up her hand. "Wait. First I need you to do something for me. Something unusual." Teo waited. He had learned that when HFY asked for something unusual, it was often important. "I need you to get me today's newspaper from Seoul," she said. "The morning edition. Any of the main papers. I want to read the news from home." Teo was confused. The Zethian coalition had just threatened to destroy the galaxy, and his ambassador wanted to read a newspaper. But he did not question her. He moved to the communication station and began sending requests through the Earth network. "What newspaper would you like?" he asked. "There are many options." "Surprise me," HFY said. "Just get me something from Seoul, something normal, something about regular life." In less than 5 minutes, the system had found a newspaper and downloaded it. The holographic display showed the front page of the Seoul Morning Chronicle. The main headline was about local elections. Below that was an article about a famous actor. Another article talked about a basketball championship. At the bottom was a weather prediction for the next week. HFY stood up from her desk and moved to the holographic display. She looked at it very carefully. Her eyes moved from one article to another. She did not speak. She just read. Hours passed. The station was busy with emergency meetings. Teo could hear people talking in other rooms. They were arguing about what to do. Should they prepare to fight? Should they try to run? Should they try to give the Zethians what they wanted? But HFY just read the newspaper. After 4 hours, she asked for more newspapers. Teo brought them. She asked for newspapers from other Korean cities, Busan, Daegu, Incheon. She asked for newspapers from the same day, from the week before, from a month before. Soon the holographic screens were filled with newspapers from all over Earth. HFY made marks on the screens. She put lines between different articles. She wrote notes on a paper pad with her hands. Her handwriting was small and fast. "What are you seeing?" Teo asked. HFY did not answer right away. She kept reading and making marks. Finally, she put down her pen and looked at the screens filled with newspapers. "Do you know what makes humans different?" she asked Teo. "Our ability to survive difficult places," Teo said. He had heard this many times. "Yes," HFY said. "Exactly. We come from a world that tries to kill us every day. Storms, earthquakes, animals, disease. Our planet is hard and dangerous. We evolved to survive in this danger. But surviving is not just about fighting. It is about paying attention. It is about understanding patterns. It is about sharing information." She pointed at the newspapers. "Look at these." Every day, humans write down what happened. We read about problems. We discuss solutions. We tell each other what worked and what did not. We are constantly learning from each other, all the time, every single day. HFY moved closer to the screens. When a city has a problem, the newspaper tells about it. When a person finds a solution, the newspaper shares it. When something dangerous happens, the newspaper warns everyone. This is how we think. This is how we survive. She turned to look at Teo directly. "The Zethians think they are making us afraid. Maybe they are right. But they do not understand what humans do when we are afraid. We do not just run or give up. We start to pay attention. We start to plan. We start to work together." Teo felt something change. He was still afraid, but he was also feeling something else. Hope, maybe, or understanding. "You know what we should do," he said. It was not a question. "Yes," HFY said. She moved back to her desk and opened a communication channel. "Get me Fleet Command, and get me every military officer who will listen, and start recording everything I say. What I am about to tell them will change how they think about Earth." Outside the observation window, the galaxy turned slowly, beautiful and dangerous. Inside, a small Korean woman and her security officer were about to remind the entire galaxy what humans really were. The briefing room was filled with officers from many different species. Some had skin that glowed, some had scales, some had tentacles. They sat in special chairs designed for their different bodies. But they all had the same look on their faces. They were scared. Admiral Min Seok stood at the front of the room. He was the highest-ranking human military officer in the galaxy. He was older, with gray hair and a serious expression. He had won every battle he had fought, but he looked tired now. "Our allies are asking what Earth will do," he said. "The Galactic Council is asking for guidance. Everyone wants to know if humans will fight or surrender." Ambassador HFY walked into the room. Everyone turned to look at her. She was so much smaller than the other species leaders, but she walked like someone who had control of the room. "Thank you all for coming," she said. Her voice was calm and clear. "I know you are afraid. I know you are confused. I also know that the Zethian coalition seems very strong. They have many ships. They have powerful weapons. They have proven that they will use force." She stood in front of the big holographic display. On it were dozens of Earth newspapers, all showing different articles from different days. "But I am here to tell you something important," HFY continued. "I am here to tell you what humans really are. Not what you have learned in history classes, Not what you have read in reports. What we really are. She pointed at the newspapers. On my world, humans have a tradition called the newspaper. For hundreds of years, we have written down what happens each day. We write about problems. We write about solutions. We write about everything. Every single day. A Kellian trader stood up. The Kellians looked like large birds with intelligent eyes. Respect, Ambassador, but why are we looking at papers about sports and weather? We are facing the end of our civilization. HFY did not seem angry. She just nodded. Yes, you are right. But this is exactly what I want to show you. Look at these newspapers. Really look. Read the sections about local government. Read about transportation problems. Read about new diseases that appear. Read about solutions that workers found. She made the display bigger. Now everyone could see more clearly. Every day humans face problems. Some are big problems. Some are small problems. But we face them. We find answers. We tell other people what worked. We tell other people what did not work. And then we move to the next problem. Always. Every day. This is how we think. This is how we are. A tall Vrex engineer with 4 arms raised one hand. But what does this have to do with military strategy? HFY smiled. It was a small smile, but it was genuine. Everything. You see, the Zethian coalition believes that the galaxy works like a simple equation. We are strong plus they are weak equals we win. But the galaxy is not a simple equation. The galaxy is like life on Earth. It is complicated. It requires paying attention to patterns. It requires talking to each other. It requires the ability to change plans quickly. She pointed at different newspapers. This article here is about an earthquake. Humans lost many homes. But here is another article from 2 weeks later. We see how the people rebuilt. Here is an article about a disease. We see how doctors work together to fight it. Here is an article about a transportation problem. We see how engineers found a new solution. Admiral Minseok was starting to understand. Teo could see it on his face. You are saying we need to organize like humans organize, Minseok said slowly. We need to share information quickly. We need to adapt. Yes, HFY said. And I am saying something else too. For 30 years, humans have been learning about the galaxy. We have been watching. We have been reading about other species. We have been understanding how things work. But we have not shown you our real power. She moved to a different display. On this one, images appeared. Human military equipment, human ships, human technology that humans had not revealed before. The room became very quiet. What is this? Asked the Kellian trader. This is what humans have been building, HFY said. For 15 years, we have been creating technology that is very good. We did not show it before because we wanted peace. We wanted to be seen as peaceful traders and good members of the Galactic Council, but we always knew that trouble might come, so we prepared, quietly. A Vrex engineer moved closer to look at the weapons designs. These are very clever. These would be difficult to defend against. Yes, HFY said. And we have more. Not just weapons. We have communication systems. We have ships. We have equipment for every kind of situation. We have spent years preparing, like we do on Earth. We do not advertise our preparations. We just do them. We plan. We work. We wait. She turned to face all of the officers. I came here today to tell you that humans will not surrender. And I came here to tell you something else. I came here to tell you that if you want to survive the Zethian coalition, you need to think like humans. You need to pay attention to what is happening. You need to organize quickly. You need to share information. You need to change your plans when something is not working. Lieutenant Gichan, HFY's main advisor, stepped forward. What exactly are you asking for, Ambassador? HFY looked at him. I am asking for command of the Alliance forces. I am asking for the authority to organize the defense of the galaxy. And I am asking for trust. This caused noise in the room. Many species started talking at the same time. Some sounded angry, some sounded surprised. But Admiral Minseok stood up. He walked to where Hei-Wan was standing. He looked at her for a long moment. Then he nodded. "I will follow your command," he said loudly. This made everyone else quiet. "I will follow Earth's ambassador because I understand what she is saying. Humans are from a world where everything tries to kill you. If you survive that world, you are strong in ways that are not about muscles. You are strong in ways that are about thinking, about planning, about surviving." He turned to the other officers. "If any of you want to survive this war, you should follow her too. You should think like a human, and you should read the newspapers." Over the next hour, more officers agreed to follow Hei-Wan's command. Not all of them understood what she was saying, but they could see that Admiral Minseok believed in her, and Minseok had never lost a battle. When everyone had left the room, Hei-Wan sat down in a chair. She looked tired. "Do you think it will work?" Teo asked her. Hei-Wan looked at the newspapers on the display. She looked at all the stories of humans solving problems and helping each other. "I do not know," she said, "but I know that humans survive. We always survive. Not because we are the biggest or the strongest. We survive because we pay attention. We learn, we change, we work together, and maybe, just maybe, the galaxy can learn to do these things too." Teo felt something like hope again. The Zethian coalition was still dangerous. The future was still unclear. But standing next to this small Korean woman who had seen something important in a newspaper, he felt like they had a chance. The Galactic Council Chamber was the largest room in the entire station. The ceiling was so high that you could not see it clearly. The walls were made of transparent material so that observers could watch the important decisions being made. Today, the chamber was completely full. Every species had sent representatives. Some were nervous. Some were angry. All of them were waiting. Ambassador Hei-Wan stood in the center of the chamber. Around her, in a circle, sat the leaders of every major species in the galaxy. Some of them she had worked with for 5 years. Some of them she had never met before, but all of them were looking at her now. She held a newspaper in her hands. It was printed on real paper, not a hologram. Many of the alien species had never seen a newspaper before. Paper was an ancient thing, they thought. Humans were strange for keeping this old technology. "Before I give my response to the Zethian ultimatum," Hei-Wan said, "I want to tell you a story about newspapers and how they saved my world many times." She opened the newspaper and showed the front page to everyone. "This newspaper is from Seoul, a city on Earth. It is from today. There is an article about local elections. There is an article about a basketball tournament. There is an article about a building project. There is weather information. Does this seem important to you? Does this seem like the kind of thing that matters when your world is in danger?" A Zethian representative made a sound like thunder. It was their way of showing anger. "What is this waste of time? You bring us a newspaper? We have threatened you with destruction, and you play games." Hei-Wan did not react to the anger. She simply continued. "You asked yourself the wrong question. You did not ask why I am showing you a newspaper. You asked if the newspaper seems important. Let me answer the real question." She moved to a large holographic display. The newspaper information changed to show maps and numbers. The Zethian coalition believes that military power comes from big ships and powerful weapons. This is true, to some extent. But this is not the only kind of power. There is power in information. There is power in coordination. There is power in the ability to solve problems quickly. She pointed at the newspaper sections. "Look at this article. It talks about a transportation problem in Seoul. Thousands of people could not get to work. The city organized a solution in 3 days. 3 days. They found extra buses. They organized volunteers. They created new routes. Thousands of people worked together. And the problem was solved. Now she showed another article. This one talks about a disease that was spreading in a hospital. The doctors and workers organized a response. They shared information with hospitals in other cities. They created a prevention system. The disease was stopped. This happened in 2 weeks. A peaceful shellwren, whose species looked like floating crystals of light, asked a question. Ambassador, I am trying to understand what you are saying. Are you comparing disease response to military strategy? Yes, Haiwan said. Exactly. Because they are the same thing. Both require organization. Both require information sharing. Both require the ability to change strategy quickly when something is not working. Both require many people working together. And both require courage. She turned to face the Zethian representative directly. Your coalition believes that you will win because you have more power. But you are wrong about what power is. Power is not just weapons. Power is the ability to organize many beings quickly. Power is the ability to respond to change. Power is the ability to think. Haiwan gestured, and more information appeared on the display. It was Earth's military capacity, ships that had been hidden, weapons that had been developed in secret, technology that humans had not revealed before. The chamber erupted in noise, shocked voices from every species. The Zethian representative stood up, which was an aggressive move. You have hidden weapons? The Zethian demanded. You claim to be peaceful traders. We were peaceful traders, Haiwan said calmly. We were also preparing, like we always do. Humans do not advertise their preparations. We simply make them. We built what we needed. We trained our people. We waited. And now we are ready. She moved closer to the Zethian representative. But I am not here to tell you that humans will defeat you in a simple battle. We might not. You have many ships and many fighters. What I am here to tell you is that humans will not break. We will not stop. We will not surrender. She held up the newspaper again. This newspaper teaches me every day that humans face problems and solve them. We face difficulties and overcome them. We fail sometimes, and we learn from failure. We face danger, and we do not run. We organize, we work, we think. Haiwan looked at the other species representatives. I am offering alliance to any species that wants to survive. Not because I promise victory, I cannot promise that, but because I know that humans are very good at surviving when others would give up. And I know that if you organize with us, if you think with us, if you share information like we do, then we will have a chance. She turned back to the Zethian representative. And I am telling you directly, the human response to your threat is no. We refuse. We refuse to give up our worlds. We refuse to surrender our freedom. We refuse to accept that you have the right to control the galaxy, and we are prepared to fight you for as long as it takes. The Zethian made a roaring sound. It was a sound that should have been scary, but many of the other species did not look scared anymore. They looked like they were thinking. They looked like they were considering joining with humans. Admiral Minseok stood up and walked to stand beside Haiwan. This was a simple action, but it meant something important. The highest-ranking human military officer stood with their ambassador. He was making a statement. Humans were united. I will fight, Minseok said. His voice was quiet but firm. I will fight beside any species that wants to stand against the Zethian coalition. And I will fight like a human. I will adapt. I will respond. I will think. And I will not stop until the threat is over. One by one, other species representatives stood up. The Kellian traders, the Vrex engineers, the peaceful Shellwren, which surprised everyone. Even some species that had been neutral before. Only a few representatives stood with the Zethian. The galaxy was dividing, but the division was not what anyone expected. Humans had created a force, not because they had the most ships, but because they had shown something that other species wanted: hope, organization, a plan. As the meeting ended, HFY carefully folded her newspaper and placed it on the center table. Later, it would be placed in a museum. Historians would point to that moment as the turning point of the war, but for now, HFY simply looked at what she had started. "We should get to work," she said to Teo. "There is much to organize and time is short." Teo nodded. He felt like they were standing at the beginning of something big and important, something that would change the galaxy forever. On Earth, far below the stars, Lieutenant Ho-Jin received a message. The message was encrypted, which meant it was secret and important. He was a ship captain, and his vessel was called the Soul Star. She was a survey ship, designed to explore space and study new things. She was not built for war, but Ho-Jin understood what the message meant. He understood that humans were no longer explorers. They were fighters now. "Set course for Rendezvous Point Alpha," he told his crew, "and prepare the ship for military operations." His first officer, a young woman named Mi-sun, looked up from her station. "Sir, are we at war?" "Yes," Ho-Jin said simply. "We are at war. Earth's leadership has decided. The Zethian coalition has threatened the galaxy, and humanity will not accept this." The Soul Star moved through space at incredible speed. It was not the fastest ship, and it was not the strongest, but it was designed to survive, which was exactly what humans needed right now. In another system, Dr. Park Hae-ju received her orders at a manufacturing facility. The facility had been built to make commercial products, but humans had always designed it with other possibilities in mind. Humans always prepared for different futures. Dr. Park Hae-ju was a scientist and engineer. She had short black hair and a focused expression. She had been working on weapon systems for 5 years, in secret. Now her work would be seen by the galaxy. "Begin weapon production immediately," she said to her team. "We need to create countermeasures for Zethian technology. We have the designs, we have the resources. Now we just need to work fast." Her team was 50 people from many different species. Some were Vrex engineers, some were Kellian traders with technical knowledge, some were humans. They all understood what needed to be done. The manufacturing lines began to move. Robots worked alongside biological beings. Materials were cut and shaped. Weapons began to take form. In 1 week, they created 10 times more weapons than they had made in the previous year. Admiral Min Seok was organizing the military strategy. He sat in a war room with maps of the entire galaxy. The maps showed where Zethian forces were. They showed where Alliance forces could be positioned. They showed supply lines and communication routes. "We will not fight them directly," he told his officers. "Direct conflict is what they expect. Instead, we will do what humans do best. We will adapt. We will think. We will respond to their moves before they make them." He pointed at different areas of the map. "We will place ships here and here and here. When the Zethian fleet moves, we will not be where they are attacking. We will be where we can hurt them most effectively. And when our plans do not work, we will change them. Immediately." The human military was small compared to the Zethian fleet, but it was smart. It was fast. It was designed to think like the newspapers showed humans thinking. Every problem was solved quickly. Every new information was shared. Every lesson was learned. On the Galactic Council Station, HFY was working around the clock. She did not sleep. She coordinated with every allied species. She organized communication systems. She created plans for sharing information quickly. Teo watched her work. He had never seen a human push themselves so hard, but he had also never seen someone so focused on a goal. HFY was not thinking about herself. She was thinking about the galaxy. She was thinking about survival. "How much time do we have?" Taewon asked her at one point. 48 hours until the Zethian deadline," she said without looking up. "But the real time is what comes after that. When they attack, that is when everything will matter. That is when we will need to be ready. On every human world and every facility with humans, the same thing was happening. Preparation, coordination, organization. Scientists worked on new technologies, engineers worked on new designs, soldiers trained for new situations, and importantly, information was shared. Every day, messages moved between ships and stations. Information about what was working, information about what was not working, information about new ideas and solutions, just like the newspapers had shown. Humans shared information like it was the most important resource in the galaxy. Lieutenant Ho Jin's ship arrived at the rendezvous point. There were already 12 other human ships waiting. 40 ships arrived in the next 12 hours. By the end of 2 days, over 100 human ships were positioned around the galaxy. 100 ships was not a huge fleet. The Zethian coalition had thousands of ships, but each of the human ships was commanded by someone who had studied the newspaper lesson that Heywan had taught. Each captain knew how to think. Each crew member knew how to adapt. Dr. Park Hae-ju's facility had produced 500 new weapons. 500 weapons that were designed specifically to be difficult for Zethian ships to defend against. They were not perfect weapons. They had limitations. But they were made by a species that understood how to solve problems. In the war room, Admiral Min Seok looked at the map one more time. The Zethian deadline was almost here. In a few hours, the Zethian coalition would attack. Or maybe they would negotiate. Or maybe they would do something unexpected. "Are we ready?" one of his officers asked. Min Seok thought about the newspapers. He thought about how humans had faced problems on Earth for thousands of years. He thought about how humans had always organized to face danger. "No," he said finally. "We are not ready. We will never be completely ready. But we are prepared to learn. We are prepared to think. We are prepared to change our plans when we see that something is not working. And we are prepared to survive. That is what humans do. We survive." At that exact moment, Zethian ships began to move. They left their positions and started toward the Galactic Council Station and the human positions. The war was beginning. But Heywan and her people had expected this. They had read the patterns in the newspapers. They had learned how to think like humans. And now they would show the galaxy what a species capable of learning really could do. The first shots would be fired soon. But before that happened, a strange calm filled the command centers. Everyone was ready. Everyone knew their role. Everyone understood that they would adapt as they went. They would learn. They would change, just like humans always did. The newspaper had prepared them, and now the real test would begin. The first battle lasted 3 hours. 3 hours of explosions and light and terrible sounds. 3 hours of ships firing at each other. 3 hours of strategy and planning and human adaptation. And when it was over, the Zethian coalition had suffered their first real loss. They had expected to win quickly. They had expected the smaller alliance fleet to scatter and run. But that is not what happened. When the Zethian ships attacked from the left, the human ships moved to the right. When the Zethian ships changed direction, the Alliance fleet was already moving to a new position. It was like watching water flow around stones. The water does not fight the stones. The water simply finds another way. This is how the human-led Alliance fought. Captain Ho Jin sat in his command chair on the Sol Star. His hands were shaking slightly. Around him, his crew was moving quickly, responding to orders, analyzing data, creating reports. His ship was damaged, but still flying. His crew had performed better than he thought possible. "Excellent work," he said to his crew. "Excellent work. Now prepare for the next attack. Report all information to Alliance Command immediately." Dr. Park Hae-ju watched the battle from her facility on a monitoring screen. She saw exactly where the Zethian weapons had failed to hit. She saw the patterns in how the Zethian ships moved. She took all of this information and created new plans. "Create a new weapon design," she told her team. "Look at how their ships moved in the last battle. They always turn left before they turn right. Their weapons charge for exactly 5 seconds before firing. If we create a weapon that can respond to these patterns, we will have an advantage. Her team worked through the night. By the morning, they had designed something new. By the evening, they had built 300 of them. Admiral Minsiok watched all of this from his war room. He saw the information flowing in. He saw how his officers responded. He saw how humans thought. The Zethians fight the same way, he told his staff. They have a pattern. They use the same tactics over and over. But each time they use these tactics, we learn something new. And each time they attack, they discover that we are not where they thought we would be. Over the next week, there were 3 more battles. Each battle was different. The Zethian coalition learned from their mistakes. They tried new tactics. They changed their strategy. But the human-led alliance learned faster. This was the key. This was what Haiwan had understood. Humans did not just fight, humans thought. They paid attention. They changed. Every day there were reports from the battlefields. Every day the information was analyzed and shared. Every day new strategies were created. It was just like the newspapers had shown. Problems appeared, and humans solved them. On Earth, regular people watched the news reports with a feeling that was hard to describe. They were afraid, but they were also proud. They were proud that their species was fighting. They were proud that humanity was showing the galaxy what it meant to be from a dangerous world. The newspapers on Earth reported everything. Headlines announced victories. Articles explained the strategies. Pictures showed the ships and the weapons. Just like the newspapers had shown the stories of humans solving problems on Earth, now they showed the stories of humans solving the galaxy's problems. Haiwan read every single one. She read them in her office while Teo watched over her. She read them during the day and sometimes during the night when she could not sleep. "They are getting tired," she said to Teo after the second week of fighting. "Look at the reports. The Zethian fleet is responding more slowly. Their tactics are becoming repetitive. We are not just fighting them, we are exhausting them." Teo did not understand. "But they are stronger than us. How can we exhaust them?" "Because," Haiwan said, "they believe there is a simple way to win. They believe that if they are stronger, they will eventually break us. But strength is not everything. Humans have learned this on Earth. We learned it facing storms and earthquakes and disease. Sometimes, the species that survives is not the strongest. It is the one that adapts the best." She showed Teo the newspaper reports. "Look at this. This factory on Earth just reported creating a new defense system. Look at this. These scientists just discovered a weakness in Zethian ship design. Look at this. These people are volunteering to work extra hours because they believe in the cause." Teo began to understand. The galaxy was not just fighting the Zethian coalition. The galaxy was thinking like humans. The galaxy was learning to adapt. 3 weeks after the first battle, the Zethian coalition began to slow down. Their attacks came less frequently. The time between attacks became longer. They were regrouping. They were rethinking their strategy. But it was too late. The Alliance had already built more weapons, created better plans, learned from every single battle. Finally, after 28 days of fighting, the Zethian flagship requested a communication. This was a signal. This was the beginning of peace talks. Admiral Minsiok looked at the message. A small smile appeared on his face. "Tell them we will accept their communication request," he said. "And tell Ambassador Haiwan that she was right. The newspapers showed us the way." In her office, Haiwan received the message. She looked at the morning newspaper on her screen. There was a headline about how the first Zethian response was slower than the second Zethian response. There was an article about how humans had adapted their strategy. There was a report about how volunteers all over the galaxy were working together. "Teo," she said, "we should prepare the negotiation room. It is time to talk to the Zethian coalition." Teo was surprised. "We defeated them. Shouldn't we make stronger demands?" "No," Haywan said. "Victory in war is just the beginning. The real work comes after. We need to create peace that will last. And we can only do this through understanding and negotiation." She stood up and moved to the window. Outside, the ships of the Alliance fleet were floating peacefully. The battle was over. The war was over. "The newspapers taught me something important," she said. "Humans do not just solve the immediate problem. We think about what comes after the problem. We think about whether our solution will create new problems. We think about the future." She turned to face Tayo. "The Zethian coalition tried to conquer the galaxy. They failed, not because they were weak, but because they did not understand how to think beyond victory. We will teach them, and maybe through teaching them, we will teach the entire galaxy what humans know." That evening, as the sun set on the Galactic Council station, Haywan held a newspaper in her hands. The headline read, "Peace Talks Begin. Will Galaxy Accept New Era of Understanding?" She thought about how a simple newspaper, a simple sharing of information, had shown a path to survival. She thought about how humans from a dangerous world had taught the galaxy to be human in the best way, to observe, to adapt, to think, to share. "The war is over," she said softly. "Now the real work begins." And as the stars shone above the station, a new chapter in the history of the galaxy was about to start. A chapter written not in conquest, but in cooperation. Not in strength, but in understanding. Not in weapons, but in newspapers and the human way of thinking that would change everything.